So you're telling me there's a chance Jason Tatum and the Celtics, staying alive, riding some red-hot shooting from deep in a scorching third quarter, avoiding a sweep, securing a Game 4 win over the Heat in the Eastern Conference Finals last night. Welcome to the show, everybody, a show we call The Sweat. Speaking of hot, presented by DraftKings. I saw you just wink at me. Oh, my God. Nick Fryer, calm down. I'm Emerson Lotzi, everybody. A big day for you. You're getting fitted for a tux later for your wedding.
Yes, I am. Thank you for telling everybody about that. And also matching, too, so it's even more important.
I know. What color tux are you going with?
I was debating between orange and light blue.
Okay. I liked that very much.
Yeah, keeping the theme going.
Touche. Hey, listen, you could wear a black tux to the Celtics' eventual funeral here, but right now they're still alive. Julian Edlow has been kind enough to join us as well. About last night, Jules, how the hell was Boston able to save this series?
By trying hard. They haven't played very hard the rest of the series, and their shots haven't gone in, and when their shots don't go in, they complain to the refs, and they, start to give less effort. That's kind of what this team has been, and I'll give them credit for this. They could have laid down, and I thought they needed a good start to get going in that game last night, and they didn't get it. They not only waited to go down 3-0, but they waited to go down 9 in the third quarter on the road, down 3-0, to go on an 18-0 run and get up off the mat and give their season a little bit of life. So I have plenty of thoughts on them moving forward, but in terms of Game 4, they did what they had to do in an elimination game on the road where they have been by far their best. So tip of the cap for now.
What'd you think about Jaylen Brown and Marcus Smart channeling their inner Kevin Millar before the game 2, which was hilarious because you had a couple former Yankees in the seats.
That's the wildest part. A-Rod and Jeter is foreshadowing that there was no chance the Celtics were going to lose that game, and now it's what's going to happen the rest of the series?
Celtics should invite them to Game 5.
Oh, yes, 100%, Jules.
Amazing.
100%.
That's a great
They can sit with me. I'll show them a good time.
I would like to sit with you as well.
Well,
no, not you. I'm inviting A-Rod.
So only 2/3 of us are going to be on this panel are going to be at Game 5.
Don't worry about
that's
it.
Uncomfortable.
Hey,
you send the important people.
Yeah.
Nick, Boston still faces this daunting task here. We all know no team has ever rallied from a 3-0 deficit. How would you bet this series as a whole moving forward right now?
To me, look, I know there's value in going and taking the Celtics to have a comeback, and it's surprising looking at the odds. I know our buddy Jeff Pratt has been highlighting that a lot. Of course, he's always pro-Celtics. But
yep. I mean, actually, I don't believe he was predicting last night to go the way that it did. So that had to hurt him a little bit. But I woke up this morning from a bunch of very emotional texts. The guy needed a cold shower.
But for me, looking at this next game, at least, I don't want to go beyond this game right now. I just don't think that's smart.
Okay.
But even then, this is still a little bit unpredictable. I'm more looking at it from a live situation, how that's where I'm going to be leveraging things. But I will say, Jimmy Butler over 28.5 points is the only play right now going into this game that I am comfortable taking.
Okay, we're talking tomorrow night already.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, looking at Game 5. That's why I thought you wanted me to talk about.
Yeah, no, that's fine too. I was talking more as a series as a whole. Would you bet right now? This thing to end tomorrow night? So if this series goes 5 games, you get plus 250 odds. You think it's going to go 6 games, plus 185? You think it's going to go 7 here, you get plus 140?
I don't think it'll go 7.
Okay.
I would think it's going to go 6. I think they'll pull it off tonight. Every part of me wants to say that the Celtics are going to go and lose this one. I thought they were going to lose it last night. But when they get hot, like Julian was talking about, when they get hot, and not only try hard, when you see their role players get more aggressive too, that's a big thing. Like Derek White, who'd kind of gone quiet recently. I know Malcolm Brogdon's gone quiet from a scoring standpoint, but Derek White last night scoring 16 points, getting after it, hunting the matchups that he had instead of trying to look to Tatum and everybody else to go and do as much as Tatum's still getting his. To me, and then Marcus Smart getting shots more so in the rhythm of the offense, forcing a little bit less. That's why I feel more confident going into Game 5 that they're going to pull it off.
And so your bet as of right now for tomorrow night, for Game 5, is just Jimmy Butler over his points.
Yeah, because he's getting 21 plus shots per game in 3 of the 4 so far this series. 10 free throw attempts in Game 1, 12 in the one before that. Just from a volume standpoint, I love this play at 28.5 right now. I know he needs a little bit more than that maybe on the free throw side, but he hasn't been quite as efficient shooting in the last couple games either. So if he's just, law of probability, that's going to correct itself. But then again, looking at that volume, Butler's going to have to get after it if they want.
Yeah, it's true, and he woke up eventually there, like in the second half. But
Yep.
so did the rest of the Celtics team, because I think Butler only had like 9 points at halftime. Jules, looking ahead to tomorrow night here, man. I mean, bettors now believing like the C's have the momentum. You probably got to expect a lot of money to come in on Boston right now to win it and force a game 6, huh?
I mean, whoever wins the last playoff game has the momentum. People are getting excited about this. I would expect the money to come in on Boston, but the Celtics have done absolutely nothing to gain our respect in Game 5 here. Their last 7 playoff games, they are 2-5 straight up. They've been double-digit home favorites 3 times in this postseason. They've lost all 3 games outright. The last 3 Game 5s this team has played at home, they played 2 this year. They had a no-show against Philly, where they were down more than 20 during that game. They blew a 13-point fourth quarter lead against the Hawks in a Game 5 to lose. And the last one, you have to go back to Game 5 against the Bucks. 14-point fourth quarter lead. Lost that game before they bounced back and won Game 6 in Milwaukee and then ultimately 7 at home. Now they're better with their backs against the wall. They're 6-1, I think it is, in their last 7 elimination games now. So they have to take that mentality into this. But the Celtics have done nothing to, gain the respect that they're getting of saying, the series is coming back to Boston now. Watch out for Game 6 in Miami, because they have puked all over themselves in this spot time and time again. So this is the spot. This is the pivotal spot in the series that the Celtics need to get this one. I think everybody's talking about what the pressure would be like on Miami if there's a Game 6. This is the pressure spot. The Celtics can win on the road. They've proven that. They have not proven for some reason that they can win at home. Okay. So this is the spot that matters. The spread is what doesn't matter. People are nervous about laying 7.5.
Yeah.
All 9 of the Celtics wins in this postseason are by 8 or more points. 18 of the last 19 Celtics postseason wins are by 8 or more points.
Okay.
The one outlier being a 4-point win in Game 7 in Miami. They were up 12 late and almost did their customary puke all over themselves. So
love that.
If you like the Celtics, lay it. They're going to blow out and go to Game 6 in Miami. If not, if you like the Heat, you might as well just take the money line, because a close game means a Heat win.
Yeah, and the Heat plus 250 on the money line right now. Spread at 8. Boston, an 8-point favorite right now. You got some numbers in front of you, too.
Yeah.
Bettors are really hammering the Heat side of things?
Yeah, looking at it right now, the Heat are getting, 81% of the bets for the spread and then 80% of the money line bets right now. So the public is very much in on the Heat. As much as I do agree with Julian, the Celtics have not done a whole lot to impress us at this point, to prove that they deserve our money. But I will say that he's right. Either you take the Heat on the money line, or you take the Celtics to cover in this point, because Julian was highlighting this before the series started, how the Celtics, not just against not just this postseason, but when you look at their playoff matchups versus the Heat, when the Celtics win, it's by a large margin.
All right, so we know who you guys are taking tomorrow night. Jules, I want to know who you're looking at right now in terms of playoff MVP futures in that market. So Jimmy Butler, not a surprise here. As of right now, the favorite for Eastern Conference MVP. Nikola Jokic has separated himself from the Finals MVP odds pack. Who would you back right now?
I tend to think that the Eastern Conference, most likely the Miami Heat, is going to have the edge in the NBA Finals. Denver's been a great story, but they haven't been there before, and I think that might show a little bit in the Finals. Now, they're 38-4 at home with Jokic in the lineup this season, so if they had home court over Miami, that would be a pretty big advantage. But Miami has gone into Milwaukee, New York, Boston, and won big games, no problem. So I would be looking at Jimmy Butler most likely as my favorite NBA Finals MVP bet. And if you think the Celtics have any life, you're looking at Tatum. Okay. Obviously, Jokic is going to be the heavy chalk here. Yep. And if you like Denver, take Jokic, because you're getting a discount off the series, and there is no way they can win that series without Jokic being the best player.
I mean,
so the board for me doesn't go beyond 3 players, honestly.
Okay, so you wouldn't even consider Jamal Murray after the way he played last series, against the Lakers?
he played the way he played last series, and look who won the MVP of the series, Jokic.
Yeah, very true, very true. What would you do in this market right now? I love you, Jules.
I tend to agree with Julian on this one. And the biggest thing, too, is that we're going to see those odds shift if the Nuggets win game one. And no matter what, they're already going to be more rested than everybody else. Now, yes, the Heat could go and take care of this one, and they're still going to get a ton of rest before game one. But still, the Nuggets, they are, from a talent standpoint, they are the superior team. So if you do like them to win the series, they can get on Jokic right now. But Jimmy Butler is a fair point. Like, I do think the Heat, they're such a wild card right now that if you want to go with Jimmy Butler right now, that's fair. And I don't think, the Celtics, I do think they will win game 5, but I just don't think that they're going to pull off this full comeback. So I'd still go Butler.
Okay, Nuggets right now, favorite to win the finals, -210, and the Heat +360. Celtics third in that group at +450. Gentlemen, your job here is done. LeBron has talked about at least threatening retirement. We'll talk about that with Mike Golick Jr. coming up because he is standing by. And also, who is going to play Michael Block in his inevitable Cinderella Hollywood movie? Gojo will break it down for us coming up next. Time to do that thing you like, everybody. Time to promote the Gojo Show. Because every weekday, you can hear from my friend and former beefy Notre Dame lineman Mike Golick Jr. He offers up his unique perspective on the hottest topics around sports, a lot of pop culture, a lot of food talk. He always has special guests, including the man who helped make him, his father. I see him on there quite a bit. So you can grab these podcasts, the Gojo Show podcast, anywhere where you get your favorite podcasts, or also join us here every Wednesday because Gojo joins us here every Wednesday. Good morning, Michael. How are you?
I'm doing well. And, every week you do this ad, and I love it. It's great hearing your majestic voice talk about our humble show. And you talk about all the places it's available. It'd be really cool if you could buy us at Costco. Like if you could buy us in bulk. I think we got enough episodes now to where you could buy us in bulk and get a pretty good deal and a hot dog for $1.50, which is awesome.
I was just going to say, and that's why I love the Costco CEO. Remember, it was like a year ago, and he's like, I will die before I change the price of this hot dog deal that people absolutely love and come to my store for. He gets it.
Yeah, well, and I saw like hot dog prices are a pretty popular conversation in the streets. Like Costco's managed to hold that down, but I saw Josiah Johnson talking about this the other day, and I went to Game 3 of the Lakers Nuggets series, and he mentioned the hot dogs, the bacon wrapped hot dogs that they sell on all the carts outside of Staples, and he was saying the police need to stop harassing them, but also that we've seen a little bit of price hiking going up there in the name of some sidewalk meat. And listen, brother, I have been around New York City. I have been walking around here. I love a good bit of street meat. It's one of my favorite things, despite what it does to my stomach. But he's absolutely right. That's got to come at like a nice, affordable price. I get inflation's hit everyone, but we got to try and find other ways to make up the margins.
That was one of my biggest takeaways when we were all hanging out for the MLB All-Star festivities there in LA last summer, was the amount of like the bacon wrap hot dog people who are just there clicking their tongs like at you and wanting you to purchase one of their delicious meat wrapped hot dogs.
It's meat wrapped in more meat. What better reality can we live in? I'm so thankful for them. They're waiting like where you least expect it to run all the little nooks and crannies. You're going, you think you're in the parking garage, and then no, bam, right, you want onions and peppers on this? Because I got you, brother. Well, yes, I do.
I'm not quite sure if we go inside Staples Center. I'm not quite sure how much longer LeBron James is going to be playing basketball inside there, Mike. He's threatening retirement after being swept by Denver. You already mentioned you were at one of those games. You buying or selling LeBron is actually going to do this?
Selling, just because I think while he's publicly muted himself a little bit more on the playing with Bronny thing, because I think somewhere along the line, Savannah probably got in his ear and is like, dude, you're putting way too much pressure on our oldest son. But I do still think that's a motivator for him. I still think clearly he's got gas left in the tank, but he's going to make him think about it. I'm selling the notion of LeBron actually retiring. What I could buy is maybe he gets creative with what his schedule is going to look like at the start of the season. Okay. Maybe he gets a little bit creative with that in the name of wanting to go and watch Bronny play college basketball as he gets started this season at USC, take a little bit of the load off his body, because Emerson, the one thing that became abundantly clear this postseason is that's an old man playing basketball now. Yep. Before, he was an older basketball player who was defying Father Time. Now him and Father Time are at the top of the arm wrestle where we're not sure which way it's going to go because he looks gassed. And outside of that final game, in Game 4, where he dusted it off, went for 40 and 10, looked like the LeBron James of old, especially in the first half, we saw that's not a tool that he can pull out of the bag nearly as often anymore. And so I think it's giving him some pause and thinking about how they have to go about doing this. And if he can accomplish getting an easier schedule for him and potentially keeping the heat on the Lakers to keep retooling this offseason, even though we know they hockey line changed the whole crew at the trade deadline, I think all of those are goals that LeBron would like to accomplish because he probably felt his mortality in a way that we all saw really for the first time in his career.
I totally agree. I definitely think he's using these retirement comments more as leverage. But let's also be real. This man is not retiring without a farewell tour.
No, LeBron's going to want his flowers. And I think part of this, he also saw Carmelo Anthony got all that love during the day before. Yeah. And maybe it was a little bit of jealousy. Maybe it's a little bit of main character
and they're
syndrome.
boys,
and LeBron
too.
was just like, oh, they are. I mean, LeBron went out of his way. We know the LeBron James predicting the future meme that exists, considering he wants to act like he knew everything before everything happened. He made sure to remind everybody, yeah, I saw that video recorded a week ago. You guys are probably going to make fun of me again for that. So, yes, we are, because it's well-earned at this point. But, yeah, he saw that, and he saw all the love that was going Melo's way, who didn't really do the farewell tour. Melo's tour, the end of his career, a little bit unceremonious, but still a lot of love that day. LeBron is going to make sure. And listen, I think part of us as a sports-watching public also kind of want that. Because whether you've loved or hated him, LeBron has been a massive part of our sports lifetime for those that are about our age. And so I think getting the proper chance to celebrate that or to jeer him on the way out, whatever your relationship is with him, is going to kind of be important and cathartic for everybody.
Yeah, and besides LeBron James potentially retiring, one story people cannot stop talking about, Mike, is Michael Block. Michael Block going toe-to-toe with the world's best at the PGA Championship. Now has a sponsor exemption in the Charles Schwab Challenge this week. Also punched a ticket to the Canadian Open. This is a no-brainer Hollywood movie, right? Like, how soon until we see this?
I mean, someone's got to keep Kevin Costner employed, right?
So is that who you're picking to play him?
Yeah, I feel like if it's a sports movie, it's got to be Kevin Costner, right? Like, there's no real other choice, especially a golf movie. So let's just trot him out there and do the right thing.
Okay.
Yeah, it is. It has all of the Hollywood trappings. And you know what I appreciate, if we're going to stick with the movie theme, is everybody played their part right this weekend. Like, this was a story that eclipsed Brooks Koepka actually winning the PGA Championship. It felt like he was the runner-up to what was this story that I don't know if we'll get something like that in the world of golf. And we know, based on the PGA Championship setup, it's one of the few places that affords us something like this. Normally, we get amateurs in the other majors. So the PGA Championship, the only tournament, the only major that doesn't invite amateurs. They invite the PGA professionals who win that tournament, the top 20 there. And so we get this unique set of circumstances, but to see Rory McIlroy cheering him on for the hole-in-one, embracing him after the up and down on the final hole to finish top 15, Rory understood, and a guy who's been an ambassador for the PGA, this moment's not about me. Let's make sure we keep the eyes here. The CBS broadcast that went back to the highlight of that dunk on 15 over and over and over again understood the assignment. Brooks Koepka showing him love after when they were both receiving awards on that final green. Everybody seemed to understand and grasp how cool and important this moment was in real time, and that was fun to see.
I like the idea of Adam Sandler playing Michael Block. I like the idea of like Hugh Jackman or The Rock playing Brooks Koepka, and I like the idea of Jonah Hill playing Rory McIlroy.
See, I want to bring back Shooter McGavin for Brooks Koepka. I feel like he's got big shooter energy where he could have easily gotten to finish and go up and grab the Wanamaker and gotten asked some question about Mike Block and be like, how did he finish again? Dead last? I was too busy winning.
Did you see Brooks Koepka at the Panthers game the other night? He looked like Shooter McGavin, man. What planet was that guy on?
I don't know, man. I guess
he wasn't blinking.
Maybe it was like the old school MLB where just greenies were available to everyone and we were hopped up on amphetamines, because that man stared into our souls there. And you know what? He was having a good time. I saw him, I think, chugging beers out of the Wanamaker trophy there too. It's exactly what should happen.
Agreed.
And it's why Brooks Koepka being good again is so good for golf.
Agreed.
Because, and we can kind of make the comparison here, right, to what we're getting ready in a LeBron-less NBA that's going to be here sooner than later, and what golf is now grappling with, and especially with the injuries, a Tiger Woods-less PGA is, I don't know if there's going to be anyone that steps up as a one-to-one replacement or gets even closer, has that kind of trajectory. But we got a lot of other really good options. And Brooks is one that we thought we had lost going back a few years with injury, the poor performance, all the things that drove him to live. And now you can clearly see when this guy is dialed in again, and I saw a lot of people bring it up, man, he's got the killer instinct that's the closest to Tiger. If we've got Kobe system guys in the NBA that think they have that same sort of mentality about them, then Brooks Koepka's probably the only guy on the PGA Tour that we can say has that sort of Sunday grit and ability to block out the noise that's Brooks Koepka.
Yeah, man. Just on another planet, too, like mentally. He looked a little more put together at the Heat game last night against the Celtics. Hey, which, by the way, Celtics, like, winning that thing, like, showing up, actually trying. I don't know. People around here have hope all of a sudden, thinking they could become the first team to come back from a 3-0 deficit in NBA history. 150 teams have been in this spot before, Mike. Not a single one has accomplished that feat. Are you thinking the Celtics can do it?
So there's two really prominent quotes about hope that make their way around, right? You think of the Shawshank Redemption quote, hope is a good thing, maybe the best of good things, and no good thing ever dies. But there's also the quote from Ted Lasso, as we're coming up on the final episode of that next week, which is, it's the hope that kills you. And Boston fans are lining up to get themselves hurt because there's no way in hell they're coming back to win this entire series. But Emerson, it's the funniest possible outcome. And so I'd be lying if I said I wasn't rooting for it. One, because all of us, when they were down and out, decided to get our licks in. But also, I mean, quite honestly, 8 days, if they had lost that game last night, an 8-day break until the NBA Finals, we don't need that kind of content gap now. It's not July. I'm not ready to brush off Mount Rushmore season, and so we needed them to string this thing along. So thank you, Boston Celtics. Thank you, Jason Tatum, for remembering you can score points in the fourth quarter. It's legal. It's allowed. It's actually endorsed by 9 out of 10 dentists, and I'm happy you decided to go that route.
There's no doubt. No one is happier than Adam Silver about last night, because I don't think, especially like with Heat Denver, if the Heat closed that thing out last night, we're coming off 2 sweeps, I don't know if there's enough content between these two teams, enough storylines between these two teams to keep the NBA at the forefront of everybody's mind for 8 days leading up to the finals?
No, they'd have been calling Jalen Rose and asking him if he wanted to interview John Moran again.
Yeah.
We don't need to do that at this point, and everyone there probably needs to take a beat. So, yeah, I will say, and people are going to do the ratings thing because while we're not going to shovel the dirt on them yet, it seems more than likely that Miami Heat will close out with a 3-1 lead and win this series. And while people are going to do the ratings thing, one, who cares? None of us are television executives. It doesn't affect our bottom line. What we get to think about is, one, great storylines. Nikola Jokic with a chance to cement himself, I think, is the best player in the NBA currently. Not winning the MVP this year, but potentially en route to a finals MVP that we know has a different cachet in a sport that values the postseason like this. Jimmy Butler and the tear that he has been on. But Emerson, the real winners of all of this, without question. The sports writers and media members that have covered this finals. Getting to go back and forth between Denver and close to the summertime and Miami, that's a win for all parties involved. We're selfish members of the media. We're selfish members of the press. We root for the outcomes that help us the most, whether it's to make our take right or, in this case, to make us the most comfortable and enjoyable on the off days that we've got in between games. So congratulations to you, NBA sports media, for this big-time finals matchup win.
Jokic closing in on finally getting his revenge from being drafted in a Taco Bell commercial, during a Taco Bell commercial years ago. Go Joe Rose time, Big Mike. Who gets this week's honors? Come on.
I mean, you led me right to it there, man. I was going to ask you. So I think Nikola Jokic being drafted during a Taco Bell commercial, for anyone that missed it, that clip started going viral of the NBA draft that Joker was a part of, and he was chosen during the commercial break where they run the picks on the bottom line, because at this point, they don't expect any of these guys to turn out to be a back-to-back MVP and potentially one of the greatest big men in NBA history, and so they get the ads off, and his was a Taco Bell ad, which to me should have been a sign of things to come, combining with such a great prominent American brand, my favorite fast food restaurant by far. But Emerson, I would ask you, if you could get drafted during one commercial, what would it be?
I would most likely pick a food commercial. Yeah, maybe some kind of cereal commercial, like cereal commercial, some kind of like a McDonald's commercial. Like give me something like with the Shamrock Shake, something special, something memorable.
All right, I appreciate that. Love a good Shamrock Shake, and it's special, it's unique, just like you. So I would love that there. Emerson, for my money, if I could be drafted during any commercial ever made, it would be, I believe it was a Reebok ad.
Okay.
The office linebacker Terry Tate commercial.
Yeah.
My money, it's the greatest Super Bowl commercial ever run, and it still lives rent-free in my head every day. So if you told me I got drafted during that, I'm saying I got a successful career coming in front of me, so I would happily accept that.
All right, if we're getting into specifics, I mean, how about the baby back ribs commercial, the classic one for Chili's? Like, let me be drafted during the baby back Chili's baby back ribs, you know?
With barbecue sauce.
There it is.
I'm with you.
Let's go, baby. All right, Mike. Thanks, man. We'll catch up with you. We'll catch up with you next Wednesday, my sweet chinchilla. We're gonna turn.
Love you.
I love you more. We're gonna turn our attention to the diamond coming up, because Shane McClanahan, top starter in the league right now with the Rays, 7-0, 2.05 ERA. Does he land on the betting card of our baseball panel? A question I don't even know the answer to. We'll find out next. Back here on The Sweat, everybody. Time to talk MLB best bets with DraftKings contributor Gary and Thorne. We got Tanner Kern. We got RotoWire's Eric Halterman on the left. Before we get into today, Gare Bear, congratulations. Your team scoring 20 runs last night. Also scoring 10 runs off position players in 2 innings against the Rays. You've got to feel proud and got to feel good about that.
Yeah, I believe that was Vladdy's second home run in a month. So sometimes you need one. Doesn't matter who it comes off of. You know, he had just struck out against Luke Raley, so you got to come back and get a little revenge. 6
ribbies for the big man last night, though, Care Bear. As has been the case, though, the last few Wednesdays, before we get into the night slate, and Gare, I'll start with you. We've got a healthy slate of afternoon baseball, starting with Rangers-Pirates at 12:35 Eastern time. What's a bet that interests you here from the afternoon matchups?
I'm looking at Diamondbacks money line. Don't love the fact that Lourdes Gurriel Jr. is not in this lineup, arguably the hottest hitter in baseball right now and someone who's crushed left-handed pitching all season. But this pitching matchup is pretty lopsided. I know Zach Gallen, for whatever reason, got beat up by the Pirates his last time out, but there's a case to be made that Zach Gallen's the best pitcher in baseball. He's got the best FIP in baseball at 1.98. He leads all pitchers in F-WAR. He's just been fantastic the last year and a half. While Ranger Suarez has had a rough reintroduction to Major League Baseball. 7 earned runs in the 6 innings he's pitched since coming off the IL. The Diamondbacks have one of the best offenses in baseball in the month of May. They have a 118 WRC plus in that span of time. I just think the Diamondbacks are underpriced here, considering, again, that they have their ace on the mound.
All right, Tanner, what direction are you going in, dude?
So I'm going to stay in that same game, but I'm going to take the over of 8.5 runs. Zach Gallen on the road this season has been a problem. He's coming off a bad start too, so hopefully he can carry that momentum in and give up some runs. 5.8 ERA on the road, 26 innings, 30 hits allowed. And then you look at Ranger Suarez. He got beat up by the Rockies in his first start, but that carried over into his second start against the Chicago Cubs. He's been terrible this season. Only thrown a few innings, but he does have a 10.5 ERA, 2.67 WHIP. Not getting the job done. That's what you should take from that. Diamondbacks are 6th in baseball in runs scored, so I do like runs to be put up today on Suarez, and also Gallen's going to give up a few as well. Get this game over the total.
All right, Easy E, your Phillies hosting the Diamondbacks. By the way, your manager saying this morning that he has full confidence this team will be a 95-win team.
Problem is they can't fire Joe Girardi this time, so how are they going to pull out of their tailspin? Maybe hire him quick and then fire him again? I'm not sure. My top bet was actually going to be right in line with Gary, and liking the Diamondbacks, I actually like Zach Gallen to win here. If the reason you like the favorite is because you think their starting pitcher is way better, I really like looking at the pitcher win, and that's plus 160 for Gallen. But just for the sake of getting another game in there, there's another pitcher win I like, and that's Joe Ryan for the Twins against the Giants. I believe his win prop's at plus 135, and he is becoming an ace. I mean, is it time we just say that? He's always shown good control and some pretty good strikeout stuff. Couldn't keep the ball on the ground at all, though. Left him vulnerable to some long balls. This year, strikeout rate over 30%. The walk rate 3.7%. So he's only getting better there. And the ground ball rate is still low, but in the mid-30s. That's completely fine. And it's led to a 2.25 ERA. I think he is really good, and you can trust him to get the win at plus 135. I think is a pretty good deal for a team that should be favored against the Giants.
Hey, Tanner, you're a big AL East guy, so we got Jays and Rays tonight, some big matchups here. Yankees, Orioles, also have a great matchup between the Dodgers and the Braves over in the National League. So which money line play makes the most sense for tonight's schedule?
So I'm going to be on the Orioles on the money line tonight. This team continues to get disrespected. They're only 3 games back of the Tampa Bay Rays, who have set the Major League Baseball world on fire. Nobody is talking about Baltimore right now, and they have Tyler Wells on the mound, turning into a very good pitcher, 0.79 whip, which is elite over 52 innings, only giving up 31 hits over that span. His one issue is he does allow a few home runs, misses location consistently, but he has been able to recover. Nestor Cortez has not been that good for the Yankees so far, really sliding recently and very inconsistent. 5.2 ERA with a 1.28 whip. I'm going to trust Baltimore in this spot. They've been very good, and they continue to get disrespected. The fact that they're plus 120 on the money line here is a steal, in my opinion.
Dude, second best record in baseball. I feel like not enough people are talking about it, Tanner.
Nobody's talking about it. It's crazy. If you look at them in the future markets, they're picked 4th to win the division right now, which is insane, being only 3 games back.
All right, Eric, money line play for tonight. Where you going?
Yeah, that Kyle Gibson being the ace might have something to do with the fact that the Orioles aren't getting a lot of respect, but they should get more than
Hey,
they're
it's a
getting.
friend of the program. Friend of the program here, okay?
Very respectable long career as an MLB starting pitcher, probably not an ace in many teams' books. But to get back to the question, games tonight, I'm looking at the Red Sox minus 120 at the Angels. We got James Paxton on the mound, who in season-long fantasy, not all that much reason to be interested in him because I don't trust him to be healthy 3 starts from now. I mean, obviously you might pick him up and use him for those 3 starts, but hey, in betting and in daily fantasy, we only need him to get through tonight, and he probably will. Only 6 total starts from 2020 through 2022, but his first 2 starts this year looks like James Paxton, 2.45 ERA, 109 WHIP, 14 strikeouts against 3 walks. He's going up against Tyler Anderson, who seems to have fully reverted back into soft tossing back end guy. 5.27 ERA. Some of the ERA estimators nearly a run higher than that. Not striking out anybody, and suddenly he's walking guys as well. A big advantage in the starting pitchers to Boston tonight. Minus 120 doesn't seem to reflect that.
Gare Bear, money line du jour for the late slate.
Yeah, I mean, I'm in lockstep with Tanner here. I think at this point, if you see the Orioles are facing a left-handed pitcher and they're at plus money, that's an automatic bet for me. They're 10-3 in their last 13 games against a left-handed pitcher. I think Tyler Wells is really good. He's got a 2.5 ERA across his last 6 starts. Just for the sake of talking about another game, though, and Emerson, we talked about this last night with Matt LaMarca on the slate. If you get the Dodgers at plus money at any point, because it doesn't happen all that often, maybe just bet the Dodgers. Now, I will say Tony Gonsolin, like Elder, just a guy who outperforms his expected ERA statistics by a couple runs sometimes. So to say I'm expecting regression from Elder and not put that sort of onus on Tony Gonsolin is, a little bit selective reasoning on my part. But I think this is a pretty just safe pitching matchup. Like there's no real advantage on either side. And I just think the Dodgers, considering how hot they have been the last month, if you get to bet them at plus money, it doesn't happen all that often. So take that opportunity.
Some of us were handing out winning bets from that game last night, Garion.
You did have the over. You did have the over.
I'm a betting analyst now. All right. No, I'm not. Never listen to me. Eric, finally, let's switch gears. Let's go to DFS here. Who is someone people need to slot into their lineups tonight?
Yeah, let's go with Salvador Perez at 5,200. He's looking like Salvador Perez this year. He's legitimately a better hitter in his age 33 season than he was in his mid-20s. He's actually looked better now than he has in the last few years in a lot of ways. His strikeout rate is down to 20.5%, about 4 percentage points down from where it sat over those last 3 seasons since his return from Tommy John surgery. Barrel rate just over 12%, hard hit rate just shy of 50%. I mean, he's hitting the ball often and he's hitting it really hard. 280 average with an 852 OPS and 11 homers. Looks exactly like what you'd expect. Great matchup here against Matthew Boyd, a lefty. I was interested to see if Boyd could get back to being peak Boyd that we saw when he was with Detroit earlier in his career. It's not happening, at least not so far. 6.21 ERA. The ERA estimators are better, but not good. Strikeout rate under 20%, walk rate nearly 10%, and he's not keeping the ball on the ground. Nothing good for Matthew Boyd right now. So love any Royals that are worth loving, which is not many beyond Salvador Perez. Well, they're all worth loving as humans, but maybe not as DFS options.
I love that. Amen to that, brother. Hell yeah, brother. Garion, tonight, DFS. Who's someone you got to roster?
Yeah, everyone is worth love, especially Ryan Mountcastle. Sort of a subset of the if the Orioles are underdogs against a lefty, just bet the Orioles. If the Orioles are on the road facing a lefty, use their right-handed batters in DFS. Baltimore is really messing with some stats, and Ryan Mountcastle is like subject patient 0 when it comes to this. His expected WOBA way higher than his actual WOBA, and it's because of all those deep fly balls that are just fly ball outs now at Camden Yards. Yankee Stadium is not Camden Yards, and Mountcastle has been fantastic this season against left-handed pitching, a 383 isolated power. We mentioned already Nestor Cortez is not having the best season. Sub-K, 5K Ryan Mountcastle is in a really nice spot tonight.
All right, Tanner, bring us home, dude.
Yeah, I love Paul DeYoung for $3,200 tonight. He is going to face the Reds, obviously, Ben Lively here. And Ben Lively is good, very good, .73 whip. But when you look at DeYoung off right-handed pitching, he's batting 305. And in this series, he's been absolutely crushing. He's got 5 hits, 2 home runs, 8 RBIs, and he's got 7 runs scored. So really like him in the lineup for a value play at $3,200.
All right, gentlemen, nice work today. We got to turn our attention to the ice because coming up, what the hell happened to the Dallas Stars last night? Plus, after winning the first 3 matchups against Carolina, do our analysts expect Florida to clinch its first berth in the Stanley Cup Final for the first time since 1996? We'll talk about it right after this break. All right, y'all, let's do that hockey because we have a pivotal game 4 tonight between the Panthers and Florida to dive into. Before we do that, the riveting RotoWire duo of AJ Schultz and Paul Bruno have joined us. Paul, how embarrassing was that performance from the Stars, top to bottom last night, including the fans who were pissed off they had to send the teams off the ice because they're just throwing expensive beers and glizzies onto the ice?
Yeah, it was crazy. I mean, clearly the big moment came very early in this one. I want to address that for a minute with Jamie Benn's high stick
Yep.
major and game misconduct. Look, power forwards are wired a little different than most other players. We all know that. They play on the edge of the rule book most games, and the fact that Dallas scored an early goal in a game that gave up an early goal rather in a game that they have to get likely increased the intensity level in this team leader. And he's a bit edgy, and knowing that the early momentum could be critical to the outcome, he had to be really amped up, and that helped him really cross the line that he should have been navigating a little bit better. The Knights certainly capitalized on that with 2 subsequent power play goals, and look, the game was over right at that point, and it's too bad because it could have been a very different outcome if that played out differently.
Yeah, for sure. Like 7 minutes in, AJ, it's 3-0 Golden Knights. I turned the game off and said, this thing is over. What is Dallas's biggest problem?
Well, their biggest problem is that they're probably not going to have Jamie Benn for the next game either.
Yep.
So you're not going to have your captain. You didn't really have him in game 3. You're probably not going to have him in game 4. Ottinger picked the worst time to come up with one of his worst performances. He gets benched. Max Domi loses his mind at the end of the second, and he gets a 10-minute misconduct, so he misses half of the third when you're already down 2 forwards due to an injury there as well. It just outrageous lack of situational awareness across the board here. But it all starts with Jamie Benn. You're the captain of this team. You can't do that, period, right? It shouldn't have anywhere in hockey, but to be a captain on the team in a crucial playoff game and do that, like it's somehow just egregiously worse.
Yeah, it was once again very, very embarrassing. We'll see what happens tonight. As I mentioned going into the break, Florida can punch its first ticket to the Stanley Cup Final since 1996 here, guys. They're looking to win their 5th straight, 11th win. They have 11 wins in their last 12 games here. Can they finish off the Canes tonight, Paul, as minus 115 favorites?
Oh, they sure can finish it off tonight, Emerson. It seems like everything is going their way in the postseason of late. Their unique advantages have been at the forefront, though. Every game we see Bobrovsky's insane level of play and the best forechecking game of all playoff teams in this two-month tourney, plus the play of 3 skilled two-way defenders and an edge that they have over every NHL team. And that gives them a chance to win every night. So no surprise that they're up 3-0 because everything's going their way in that sense. As for Carolina, we all know how rare a 3-0 series lead can be overturned in hockey history. I think it's only happened 4 times. And it's very hard to win a playoff game, one playoff game, in fact. Putting together a 4-game streak after losing 3 has to be the biggest mountain to climb that you can imagine in hockey anyway. The only good thing for many of them on that roster is that it's a road game, and the Canes should go into the game with the attitude that they are likely to feel a little relief from the tension of a nervous home crowd on their backs. They should be more focused as a result, and I think the outlook has to be get a win and see if you can build on it.
And AJ, I'm listening to these hockey analysts out there, and they're talking about this is like a rare occurrence when a team controls play in each of the first 3 games of a playoff series, but has 0 wins to show for it. But here we are.
Yeah, I mean, they've been getting fantastic net mining, but from Freddie Anderson. The problem is he's just run into an absolute buzzsaw right now of Sergei Bobrovsky. And we're seeing this in the Western Conference too. Adin Hill playing probably the best hockey of his entire career. Bobrovsky playing the best hockey we've seen him do in a Panthers jersey, straight up. He hasn't been this good since he was in Columbus. So I think you're just running into the wrong situation for Carolina. But I do expect them to give some push. I don't think they'll get swept here. I'm not expecting them to go 4 in a row and win the series at this point. But to get them minus 105 on the DK Sportsbook to at least force a game 5, I think is really good value here.
All right, AJ. So give me a player prop tonight that you have your eye on for game 4.
Well, I like Sebastian Aho's shot prop here. It's sitting at 2.5. You can take the over for minus 120. Still pretty good value there. 13 shots in this series, and he would have hit that mark in 2 of these 3 contests. Like I said, I expect a big push from Carolina. In fact, I might be willing to consider every single over for the Hurricanes, except maybe Brent Burns. 3.5 is a little high for a guy that has just 2 combined shots in the last 2 games. But other than that, I like all the overs on the Carolina Hurricanes shot props.
All right, Paul, what do you want to do here, dude?
I look at the plus props on a couple of players in the Panthers. First, Anthony Duclair playing top 6 minutes and getting a look on some power plays as well. Been a consistent scorer for this club, and I think at plus 115, it makes sense to go for him. Even if it is a low event game, this is a guy that can break out on his own with the skills that he has. I also spoke of the Panthers' 3 defensemen who will play a ton tonight. Gustav Forsling is second to Montour in terms of offensive skill and maybe overall ice time. He'll log big minutes too, as well as lots of high leverage time. I'll take him at plus 155 to score a point. Then on the flip side, I like the possibilities for the Canes' second line tonight. Toivo Teravainen has been very quiet in this series, but he has been one of their top scorers for a couple of years. And I know that they're going to generate some scoring chances, just like they have since he came back in the lineup. I say that if the Canes can have a game, it'll be tied to this unit, so I'll give him a shot to get a point that pays a plus 155 as well.
All right, hockey dudes, your job here is done. You both did phenomenal work. Looking forward to seeing how this one plays out tonight. And as Stars fans, they are absolutely miserable. The good news is they can head outside to the Fort Worth area, make their way to Colonial Country Club, because that is where the 5th and final Texas event of the PGA season will take place. It is the week after a major championship here, Jeff Ulrich, but it is a strong field for the Charles Schwab Challenge. And you are here to dish out some picks for us. Let's start with the heavy favorite, Scotty Scheffler. Listen, I know you're probably not going to want to touch him at this number, right? But does anything else interest you near the top of the board? Who else interests you near the top of the board?
Yeah, I mean, look, Scotty Scheffler at plus 400. I mean, if you were hitting on these favorites earlier in the season, you took advantage of, we just didn't see that the odds reacted quick enough. I mean, you were getting John Rahm, even in numbers like plus 600, plus 800. There's much better odds than we're getting here in these weaker field events now with Scotty Scheffler plus 400. We're basically getting implied probability of saying Scotty Scheffler is going to win this event like 20% of the time. Even the most bullish projections this week probably don't have Scotty Scheffler winning this event more than 12, 15% of the time. So again, like these odds, you've got to understand they've adjusted a little bit. They've adjusted for the fact that Scheffler and Rahm, they're really dominating. I mean, certainly looking down the board is fine this week, and definitely the approach I prefer. I don't mind Colin Morikawa. I really wish that we were getting plus 1,600, plus 1,800 on DraftKings. Certainly, if you can find that number, I do like Colin Morikawa. But the player that on DraftKings has the most interest to me right now is probably Sung J M, a plus 2,000. We've seen Sung J M. He's basically become almost a win-a-year player. He's won on Honda, a par 70. He's won at the Shriners, another comparable course, more of a target golf sort of area. We've seen Kevin Na win at both Colonial and the Shriners there at TPC Sutherland. So I think Sung J M coming off a bad week, yes, but he's been all over leaderboards in 2023. Like I said, very consistent player. And, this is going to be a jam-packed leaderboard. It's going to be tight. You're not going to see like 20 under par most likely win this event. It's kind of speaking to me a little bit like a Sung J M week. So plus 2,000, I do like those odds. That is kind of where I'm looking to start betting this week.
Listen, he wasn't at his best at Oak Hill, but we're all entitled to a crummy week, right? Sometimes.
Well, I mean, look, a lot of players weren't at their best at Oak Hill.
Great.
I mean, Tony Finau shot plus 15 on the weekend or something. It's a tough course, man. When you get down on Oak Hill, it's pretty impossible to reverse.
I
and
understand
get the wheels
that.
spinning the other way.
I understand that. And listen, your boy Finau is one of 5 golfers who are north of 10K in the DFS department. So which one are you going to pay up for?
Yeah, no, DFS-wise, I do like Morikawa here. I really do. I think that obviously Scotty Scheffler is going to have absolutely insane ownership this week, as he should. Scotty Scheffler, despite me not liking him at plus 400, has a very good shot of winning this event, like I said, but he's going to be very popular in DFS. One player I don't think is going to be popular is Morikawa. We're getting the putting narrative that Colin Morikawa can't putt anymore, as if all these armchair people on Twitter are suddenly better putters than Colin Morikawa. He gained strokes putting last week at the PGA Championship. This is a professional golfer who's won 2 majors. He's certainly going to turn it around eventually with that club. He lost in a playoff at Colonial, his first time playing the event. He sets up extremely well. Irons are fine. Hovland is interesting as well at this range, but what did we see from Vic after the Masters? He just kind of ran out of gas. It's a long competitive week for him at the PGA Championship. I much prefer going to Colin Morikawa. Low ownership in big fields. I really like that. Max Homa has some interest for me too. Been really good wedge player all season, but the approach game just hasn't been as good as Morikawa's of late. I'll lean Colin here. I think he's a great, big field GPP, single entry, low owned play to start lineups with up at the top.
I want you to give me your pick to win this tournament this week.
My pick to win is going to be Tommy Fleetwood.
Whoa, dude!
He's 9,200 in the DFS streets this week. He's getting some flack on Twitter. People coming in, oh, it's always Tommy Fleetwood week.
Okay.
All this stuff I hear. Fleetwood's been fantastic over his last 5 or 6 starts. Yes, he's had a little bit of trouble getting that lightning round on Sunday or anything to push him over the top, but I really like the way he played at the Valspar. Another tough technical course. Again, was gaining strokes pretty much everywhere last week. The putter has started to cooperate a little bit with Tommy Fleetwood. If he can find a little bit more, just a little bit more with that club, I really do think he's got a shot here. Again, just a player that's well overdue for a win, and a 9,200 for DFS. You can fit him in with Morikawa. You can fit him in with Scheffler, whoever you want, but a good play there as well.
Yeah, I mean, I saw you going back and forth with some friends on Twitter, and you even said Fleetwood Air has seats, but our captain still refuses to fly on Sundays.
Yeah, well, we're going to try and rectify that this week. We'll check back next Monday and see the results.
Dude, I love Kenny Kim's response to that. Tommy Fleetwood, the Chick-fil-A of golf. He just doesn't show up on Sundays.
A lot of Fleetwood slander, just slanging around the street. I tell you, these people could be in real trouble come Sunday.
I'll back you up. Really solid season. Tough to pick him to win, but he's a great play. Let's talk more about it. You and I tonight on the slate around 5 o'clock. Nick Fryer won't be there. He is skipping our show because he's being fitted for a tux.
Unbelievable.
He wants off work because he's getting fitted for a tux. I love the guy, though, because he donated to my fundraiser, Jeff, which you have yet to do. We'll see everybody at 5 o'clock.
In 2 weeks.